welcome back to A Wealthy Life, the podcast where I keep your head clear, your money moving, and even when the headlines are screaming otherwise, this is a place where sense reigns. My name is Vicky Boucher, and today's episode is for you if you've been watching the world, seeing the chaos, Trump, the tariffs, markets crashing, and maybe you're thinking, is now really the right time to make any financial decisions at all? Should I be doing anything to make my life better, or should I just be sitting here counting my money as it is that's been stuffed under the bed? So here's the truth. The world is loud right now. It's quite intense. Social media is going crazy with all the talks of crashes, doom and gloom, just simply to suck you in and raise the doomfluencers' profiles. I've learned that if I stick any word in front of influencers, I have named a subset of social media. So doomfluencers' profiles. But that doesn't mean that you can't create calm and clarity inside your own financial life. And that's what we want to focus on for the next 30 minutes or so. In fact, when the world gets loud, that's when wealthy people double down on the strategies. And today I'm going to walk you through the following three things. What's really going on in the market today, the global economy? What are the risks to look out for? And most importantly, we're going to start with how to turn that chaos into clarity for yourself, have some practical steps that you could take this week to protect and even grow your wealth. So let's start off by talking about the mayhem. I've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks and the return of Mr. Orange to the White House. This has brought with it sweeping tariffs. They're coming on and going off. Oh, there's a whole metaphor here that I can't use on a podcast, but if you know where my mind's going, I apologize. Some of those tariffs are as high as 20 to 40% on Europe and this ridiculous 245% on China, who have retaliated by saying, well, just come to China and buy the goods here then. The markets aren't taking this well. This isolationist, that's quite a hard word, this isolationist approach to life. I still feel we do better when we all pull together. There is more than enough for everybody. And of course, on top of that, just at the end of April, the UK growth figures were downgraded by a third. And that's as much in part to local government decisions made through the budget. And let's not get started on all of that. Let's stick to the bigger picture, if you like, although I'm sure I'll come back to it. I can't help myself. Now, what we have seen, how's this for a number, is somewhere in the region of £8 trillion wiped off global stock markets, where this is where confidence stutters, fails. There are concerns amongst those that bet on the stocks, because that effectively is what the stock market is. You're taking a gamble on the company that you're going to invest in doing well. They've seen the tariffs coming in, and what investors are saying is, hold on, I don't think that this company is going to do well with the new tariff regime. And so they've sold off their stock, and that's when you start to see the values of stocks dropping. I mean, Tesla sales alone are down over 70% to the fact that Elon Musk himself is now stepping back from some of that MAGA role so that he can focus on boosting Tesla. Now, some of that, of course, is going to be the Trump effect, and Trump standing outside the White House doing a sales commercial for Tesla cars, but also potentially the Nazi light salutes and chainsaw dances that the mad genius has been putting out lately. The point is that people's opinions and their confidence is fickle, really, and it's shaky. And with international trade tensions building and potentially inflation going up in some areas, although still not sure how it's going to affect the UK because we're not growing and creating the inflation. We're stagnating, and that's stagflation, as I've spoken about before. So, how are you feeling in all of this? Where are you noticing these changes? Have you checked on the value of your pension fund? Your pension will be linked to the stock market. And if that is the only future security you've got, I've always said that that is a risky approach. There might be, if you are a small business owner, benefits to ploughing money into your pension, which is then ploughed into the stock market. Is it really all part of a con? I'm not going to go down that conspiracy line, but basically you're being encouraged to give money to companies to keep them going so that they can leverage what they've got in order to make more money. Yes, for some of the shareholders, which might be you, but also for the bosses of those businesses. If your pension is in property like mine, then you won't really have noticed at the moment, just to be sure, you won't have noticed any changes come through because your tenants are still paying the rents. Now, as I mentioned last week, there are risks in property, and one of those might be that some of your tenants are going to feel the pinch. As I mentioned next, the grocery bills, are their bills going up? We know that utility bills are going up. We know that grocery bills are going up. What could you do to help? But essentially, how are you feeling it in your pension, in your savings, in your groceries? What about your job security? I'll come back to that bit in a minute. But what I just want to say is that none of this is new. These kinds of global shakeups happen in cycles. It's part of supply and demand, boom and bust. There is, what is it? You go to growth and then recession and depression. And I know there's another one in there. There's 4 of these cycles. And this is what happened when I first started investing in property back in 2007-8. We were just about to start the global crisis. I didn't know it, but in 2007, I was aware of all the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac nonsense going on in the States. And basically, what happens in the States ripples across to Europe and to us in particular very swiftly. So I remortgaged the properties I had at those higher values in 2007. I pulled that money out and I was ready to start investing in 2008. And as I said last week, I bought on average 1 to 2 properties a month for a couple of years. And in fact, I've pretty much been doing that for the last 20 years for myself or for clients. But the key thing here is that within 2 to 3 years of the start of that financial crisis, I had enough cash flow from my property portfolio to financially retire. I've never retired, apart from the fact, poor Bob, his ears would bleed if I just stayed at home talking to him. I'd go insane, even with my experiments with tomatoes and traveling the world. I love working with people like you, helping people like you to gain the financial mindset that you need in order to become independent, to live the life that you want. It's my little bit of rebellion. I'm a great one for following the rules, but actually, I'm following the rules on my terms. I'm not employed waiting till someone gives me permission to leave work. I've decided to be my own boss. I'm going to decide when I have a day off and when I don't. And I check what the weather's like and think about where I want to go on holiday. And of course, I've got to make sure that someone's looking after the tomatoes and the cats as well. But essentially, I run my own life, and that's what I want for you, because our time here on the planet is a gift. And if you're trapped, if you're shackled to a desk, then you're not able to live that gift in the way that it's been given. Time is our most precious asset, and I want you to be able to maximize that. And one of the ways that you can do that is to not have to go to work just to pay the bills. I go to work because I love what I do, and I'd love for you to be able to do that as well. And if we get back to this global crisis that we're about to go through, who are the people that come out ahead in a crisis? Not counting those getting insider dealing tips from the orange man himself, of course, but simply people like you who don't panic. They review, they plan, they create a strategy, and they act. And while they stay calm, everybody else around them is flapping and making bad decisions. they're able to see their way through, to understand what is right for them, their risk profile, their resources, and their ultimate goals. And that's what I want for you. So let's start looking at this uncertainty in more detail, because with the chaos, with every crisis, comes a handful of opportunities. And that's what we want to be looking out for now. Where are the opportunities? So the first thing that you're going to see, if you're in the position to create more wealth, if you have financial resources, is that when one market wobbles and prices fall, another market grows. I've already said that the stock market is falling, and you will notice that everybody moves their money from the stock market into things like property. So, having seen the stock market dropping, what you might do, if you understand what you're getting into, is be in a position to buy in at a lower rate than you would have done a month or two ago. What you might also do is be able to find businesses that are on sale, properties that are on sale at prices that have been readjusted because other people's situations have changed and they want to withdraw their money. Now, I'm obviously going to suggest that you look at property unless you're a stock genius. And that's because I feel that the stock market fall is not over yet. That volatility will be around potentially for the next 4 years. It depends what happens with Trump and his presidency. But with property, if the numbers work today, the numbers will work even better later on. And that's why all my clients and I am still growing our portfolios, our cash flow, and our potential to retire early with greater financial security. Why? Because our tenants are still paying the rent. Whatever's going on in the stock market, our tenants still need homes. And as long as we have that relationship with them and we manage the portfolio well, there's no reason why we should see any downturn in our portfolio cash flow. There is a thing that says that the UK is a safe haven. Whatever you might think of British politics, and I doubt that any of us have a very good opinion, on the global market, the UK is still considered relatively stable, legal, and a solid financial system. I mean, if you think about the stock exchanges around the world, the UK stock exchange is still up there with the others, riding high in terms of its brand awareness and its trustworthiness. And that means that international investors know this and will often move their money here in volatile times. So, is there an opportunity for you? Could it be your business that could benefit from this? Your employer that could benefit from this? If you know that international money is coming this way, where's the opportunity for you in your financial plan, your wider financial plan? And I've spoken about this before. I'm very vocal on the topic of this side hustle. The sheer fact that it's called a side hustle and not an income generating business should say it all. It's out of courses. It's the new version of let's get rich quick. I mean, the number of times I think I'm reading something that's going to actually be sensible, economics or finance, and it turns out it's some bloke flogging me the idea of Amazon drop shipping or whatever else it is. I want you to recognize the value of your experience, your skills, and your knowledge. And you know why? I've just told you, time is your most precious asset. You don't want more stress and less time in your life. You want more security, and from that, financial security. So instead of the drop shipping or whatever else it is, how could you use your skills and experience to help others? Can you teach? Could you consult? Is that something that you're doing in your business that could then be a side business, some private consultancy on the side? Is there something that you could create online? Could you become an influencer under a topic that you have knowledge and skills in? And not just an influencer, but remember that unless you get millions of followers, you're not going to make money from just having a few followers on Instagram. You've got to direct those people into some form of a marketing funnel. I hate that phrase, but to take them along a marketing pathway where they can ultimately spend money with you. It could be your profile that leads to consultancy roles. Maybe this is your time to think about how you restructure your work life so that you can build in greater security. You had one message back when the pandemic came and all of a sudden the world shut down. Maybe you made some changes then. Is it a chance to rethink that? Not about working more, but about working smarter. And if you want to talk through that with me, please book a call. And then I have to talk about generational wealth. I have said in the past, and certainly in my book, The Wealthy Retirement Plan, that this isn't about waiting for your parents to pass on and leave you an inheritance. With greater healthcare and increased longevity, the chances are you will have children and your parents will be leaving money to their grandchildren, potentially even their great-grandchildren. There are trillions of pounds that are set to change hands in the next decade, just in the UK alone. And whether you're set to inherit or support somebody who will inherit from you, now's the time to get organised. This means putting wills in places. We are notorious for not liking talking about death. I want to tell you it's a natural part of the process. And if you don't have a will, a legal document stating what you want to happen with all that you have gathered, your home, your savings, your belongings, then somebody else is going to make that decision, and that might not be what you want. But while you're also thinking about wills, start thinking about pre-inheritance and gifting. Is there an opportunity for you as a family to start doing things differently, to get your affairs in order and think strategically so that as a collective family, you could be better off? And this is something we're definitely not good at, to think as a family group and look at how our wealth makes a difference. And I wonder if that's because we're suspicious about divorces. So we might have children and our children might be with partners, but what if those partners separate? Then how do you stop your money going off to somebody else and somebody else's kids, not your children? There are ways that you can get advice through wills and trusts that can make a difference for you. But you need to start thinking about it. Now is the time to build your legacy and protect your legacy and that of your family. And I think that leads us into sort of a general conversation about redesigning, resetting the clock. It's a powerful time for you to ask yourself, what do I actually want from life, from the money that I have? How do I enjoy my life now, and what would I like to do more of? I use this phrase a lot. What would you do if you never had to work another day just to pay the bills? And if you start from that mindset and you turn it around, maybe you do have enough money to retire early. And then if you retire early, I'm not talking about going home and sitting on the sofa. What is your passion? What would you like to do? Do you want to be more healthy? So you're going to go down the gym, more walks, take more, adventure style holidays. Maybe you've got a new grandchild style family going on. Or maybe just actually you want to spend more time with your kids or your parents. How do you want to spend your life? What do you value? Do you want to downsize? Do you want to relocate? Do you want to work less? Do you want to retire early? If you could just answer those questions, what do you really want? Do you want to live where you're living? Do you want to do the job that you're doing? Do you want to do the job you're doing, but just for less hours a week? Do you want to give up completely? Is there another job that you'd love to retrain for? Start asking those questions, because it's crisis that can create clarity for you if you let it. But I don't want to pretend that there aren't any risks involved in the changes in the economy. This isn't one of those rah-rah, hustle, hustle, join my course and give me all your money style podcasts, because I've got the only solution. I want to deal in reality. So here's the value. This is the point in the podcast that I really want you to pay attention. These are the risks that you need to be aware of and to prepare for. First thing, panic-driven decisions, whether triggered by the media or social media, and I've spoken about this before, will just leave you feeling scared. And we know that fear sells. In fact, it's fear, scarcity, and of course, FOMO that actually drive the most sales. All emotional investing, all emotional purchases are expensive and dangerous. And that's any emotion, positive or negative. So what can you do to limit the chances of panic-driven decisions? And that's an easy answer. Create your strategy now. Go back to those questions I just asked you. How do you want your life to be? What do you want to do? Do you want to do this job? Live in this house? Be with this person? Do the hobbies that I'm doing now or do other hobbies? What do you want? And then from that, why not create yourself a strategy? First of all, a time strategy about how you could do those things. How much time do you need or want to devote to those activities? And then the costs, create a budget for it. And then look at your income and work out, can you actually afford to live the life you want? I think a lot of you can. You'll be absolutely amazed. If you make clear what your priorities in life are, you'll find that money. And there'll be things that drop away by the wayside like you can't imagine. I used to spend a lot of money on clothes, shoes in particular, necklaces. And when I decided that I wanted to invest in property because that was going to give me an alternate cash flow where I could use a little of my time a week just to manage the letting agent, oversee like a chief executive or a managing director of a company to pay attention to my investments, but would leave me basically time free and location free. I've stopped buying clothes. I haven't bought a necklace in ages. And as for shoes, I may occasionally buy trainers or some strappies for holiday or something like that. Your priorities change. It's easy. How do you want to spend your time? How much will that cost? What do I have now? And then if there's a gap, that's where you start creating your financial strategy so that you can bring in all of the income that you need in order to live the life that you want. And then you stick to it when the noise gets loud, times are tense, or you feel stressful. And I'm going to speak about job instability because some sectors will feel the ripple effects of global instability more than others. So you need to assess your role. You need to assess the income streams, your career path, maybe upskill before it comes too late. Is your business or your employer at risk either of domestic policy, like the national insurance changes, or foreign tariffs and trade disruption if you rely on parts that you import or sales that you export? And I'd say the question to you here, is there a UK market that you could explore? If you rely on foreign products to build your product, for example, is there a UK supplier? Could that be the answer for you? And if you sell abroad, is there a UK market that you can sell here? And if you start doing it now before it becomes a problem, it might not be a problem at all. Did you know that if you're a small business, you can check out the government grants and policies that are there to support you? That difference between having one employee and two employees could entitle you to a grant that covers the costs of your employer national contributions. What is it that you don't know that could make a real difference to your business surviving, thriving, and potentially even growing during this period of crisis? And don't just assume that your employer is going to do it. One way to show your value is to think about this stuff and pass it up the chain. I think the other thing I would say is being overexposed to any single asset. If all your money is in one place, whether that's employment, property, shares, a pension, crypto, heaven help you, then you're going to be at risk. There's a fine balance between diversification and distraction. But if you're employed and have at least one other income stream, then you're 100% more secure than somebody else relying only on their income. The second thing I would say is, do you have enough savings to cover your monthly expenses? In my new YouTube course, The Smart Woman's Ultimate Guide to Money and Investing, I explain to the women in that audience how to create a secure savings fund that amounts to 6 months of your household expenses, and that is enough to calm the panic and the stress. There's a link in the notes so that you can go and watch the video. And please share this with all the women in your lives. If you're a woman and you haven't watched it, watch it now. Doing those simple things, thinking about your job, thinking about your job security, thinking about your income streams, and making sure that you've got money to one side should anything go wrong, will make you feel much calmer and help you make better decisions. So consider this idea of diversification cautiously. Doesn't mean say spread yourself thin. It means creating a balance. What are the opportunities for you? And if you're stuck, book that call. I'm here to help, or I can refer you to appropriate professionals as necessary. And of course, as with all things, there's paralysis analysis, too much information. And that helps, well, not helps, but that causes some people to do nothing. They just freeze. But taking no action at all is worse. Have you thought about what you don't know? Could you create yourself an education strategy? Pick some podcasts like this one and maybe Stephen Bartlett, of course. Find some genuine educators to follow on social media. Are you following me on Instagram or Facebook? Are you following me on YouTube? And maybe unsubscribe and block those noise makers, those drama influencers, or should we call them this time stressfluencers? So just unsubscribe if the information that someone's giving you is not helpful. There is so much good information out there. Just go and find it. So I want you to pick one area to take action on, just one. And with that momentum, you will gain greater confidence. And with greater confidence comes growth, awareness, and a greater sense of calm and security as you start to take action at your pace. Unless, of course, that's a snail's pace, in which case, definitely book a call and ask me to kick your butt. All right. Happy to do that. And we can do that over the phone. Absolutely. That's not some special service that I offer on the side. That is a verbal butt kicking. Just saying that in case you got distracted. Mental burnout is a real danger right now. Worry is exhausting. Stress is crippling and truly bad for both your physical and mental health. And decision fatigue is something that is absolutely real. And what do you do now? I want you to unfollow all of those doom accounts, to take a break from the news, maybe to talk to somebody who can give you financial clarity, because financial clarity loves company. And as I always said, I want to make sure that you leave this podcast with value and even clear, actionable steps that you can use to help grow both a wealthy mindset, your financial security, and I suppose a clear understanding of why my clients and I love property as a vehicle for financial resilience. So here are 3 things I want you to understand. You don't need to fix the whole world. Most people don't have capacity. You just need to manage your local economy, your family budget, your assets, your future. Focus on that first. Get that right before you start worrying about anything else. And wealth isn't built by making the right guess. It's about building and creating a good, solid, clear plan, sticking to it calmly over time. That go slow, steady, and feel more financially secure is absolutely true. Panic will do nothing for you. Guessing will be dangerous. And let's be honest, now is as good as any time, maybe even better, because wealth is often built during moments of huge economic upheaval, which is what we have right now. And if you need help, book a call and I'll see how I can help you. So, as always, I want to thank you for your time listening to a Wealthy Life podcast. If you're feeling like you don't know where to start, you can watch my free video, The Smart Woman's Ultimate Guide to Money and Investing, and there's an 80-page workbook that goes with you. It can help you get clear on your financial picture, set realistic, value-aligned goals, and build that strategy for your money that will work in your real life with your real resources. So the link will be in the show notes. Plus, if you've already watched the video or you've got the guide, go back over and review it with today's conversation in mind, because it's never about perfection. It's about progress, consistent activity. So that's it for today's episode. If it resonated with you, please make sure that you subscribe and send this link to a friend who's maybe feeling overwhelmed with all the stress that's going on. Let's spread some calm, smart money thinking in this noisy world. I'll see you next week. Until then, my name's Vicky Wishay, and this has been A Wealthy Life. Thank you for listening.